Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a very powerful film. Can you speak, Lawrence, a little bit about how this story came to you?
I was looking to do something in the opioid space, and this article got submitted to me. And it caught my attention first because it was the first time there were criminal felony convictions in opioid, the first time pharma execs went to jail. So it seemed like a landmark case, it seemed like a harbinger for maybe things to come. It also seemed interesting because it wasn't another story about getting people addicted before they knew. This was a story where the effects of opioids were widely known, and yet somehow doctors are being bribed and still writing this medication. So it was pretty audacious. And then the last piece of it was like under the hood of this world, and just how bawdy and excessive the lifestyle of these characters were. They seemed completely oblivious to the moral lines that they were crossing, and that seemed like an interesting subculture to skewer and a great lens into a complex story.
That's really interesting. And then, so did you go to Wells Tower, or when did David become involved?
So Wells was already sort of intrigued by the material. We had wanted to do something together. We'd had a couple goes at it and didn't find quite the right thing. And then we really melded over an approach to the material. And then there was an agent who mentioned that David might be open to this kind of material. And of course, that was a dream come true bit of intel, because David had done both State of Play and Sex Traffic, two amazing pieces of work that skewered a criminal conspiracy, brought it to life in a way that was really authentic, really vivid, and really riveting. But of course, the first question was, is he available? I hear Harry Potter and fantastic pieces keeping him really busy, and they said maybe there was a shot. So Wells and I were thrilled, and that was our first submission, and we won the lottery out of the gate.
That's quite amazing. And David, can you speak about the first time that you read the material that they brought to you and what your response was?
Yes, it was Evan's article actually that both caught our eye, and I love Wells as a writer. His grasp of character and his sense of wit and irony is just so beautiful. And we built it from a treatment, didn't we, originally? So we fell in love with the idea.
8 of them, I believe.
The 8 drafts of a treatment.
Excuse me, could you repeat that number?
I think it was 38 drafts of the treatment. We really wanted to make sure that the world was brought to life in a way that was authentic, and there were a lot of court transcripts to go through, and a lot of research. And David's a real taskmaster. No, David just had a really strong vision for what he wanted, and it actually from there, the draft of the writing of the script was actually not that brutal once we'd done the homework.
Do you know what was really great is Wells went back to the well again and again and again. And some writers you could burn out very quickly. You know, if you're saying let's go back and let's just explore these things one more time, some writers can tire. But Wells was sort of indefatigable, wasn't he, in his desire to sort of land something that we all got very excited by.
This was the one for him. He was incredibly driven. He wanted to keep, being sent back to the woodshed. And I remember when he sent the script in, he said, I've been doing this now for 14 years, and my wife said, this is the first time I've ever really loved something that I've sent to the producer and director, so.
That's something when your wife knows. Yeah.
Always know.
Yeah. So you have your script now, and can you talk a little bit about how then you found your cast? You brought these amazing actors together.
Yes, so we sent it to Emily, and I did a Zoom with Emily, and it was literally a 10-minute Zoom. She loved the material. What she was so excited about was playing a female character that sort of was complicated and flawed, actually. And she said to me, David, I'm sick of seeing all these female roles where the mother figure or the sister figure, and they have to be so perfect. And what was exciting for all of us was to explore someone who was flawed and had weaknesses. And someone longing for some recognition of their skill who wasn't highly educated. So there were all sorts of things that appealed to Emily and excited us. And then she was an executive producer as well, so not only her work on the screen, she was a great champion for the film. She was a real advocate for it, and she came in fairly early, didn't she, to alongside us, and she's been brilliant looking at cuts and sort of looking at the marketing. She's been a real, and in a very, and it's in a very sort of a role way outside of her acting stuff, which I find remarkable, because often you think it would all be about Liza, but she's got this extraordinary ability to kind of step back from that aspect of the work and look at the overall. Catherine O'Hara we brought in because we, as you can see from the movie, we wanted it to be entertaining and funny. To bring Catherine, who's a really gifted comedian, we felt that would help with that tightrope walk of tone that we were doing, which is to sort of try and entertain and bring people in at the same time as deliver a serious story. And Andy Garcia was just such a delight. You know, he would complete his day's work. Say we finished with him at noon. Normally actors go away and sort of prepare for the next day or go and play some golf or whatever. Andy would stay with us and he'd sit by the monitor and he'd watch the other actors work, and we'd talk about filmmaking and writing and directing. And Chris Evans was just a total charm, wasn't he, to be around. He loved the idea of playing a sleazy farmerette. And he just...
he nails it.
He nails it, yeah.
I was reminded when I first saw the film of the myth of Icarus. And I wondered if the idea of exploring all of these pitfalls of success was something that you set out as one of your major themes to explore.
Yeah, I think there's this remarkable story that we're all told, which is how glorious it is to succeed at all costs. This sort of wonderful, and it's an ideology that is just baked into us, and it's part of how our society works. And the part of that story that isn't often told are the costs involved to your family life, and so there are. I was fascinated by a story that, and one of my favourite scenes is when they're on the balcony and Liza says, you know, I feel just the same, nothing's really changed, and there's this sort of emptiness to the whole thing. And I love that scene because there's a sort of honesty. It takes the sugar coating off the veneer that we're all told success is wonderful, but it comes with a price, especially when the rules are broken in this case.
Especially. Now I wanted to leap forward and speak a little bit about the design of the film, the production design, the costume design, because it tells so much about the story visually. Clothes and your surroundings say so much about what you aspire to be. They say a lot about class, things about money. How important to you was getting all that exactly right?
It was a fun part of the whole journey, actually. We had a lovely production designer, Molly, and a wonderfully gifted costume designer, Colleen Atwood, multi-Oscar winning costume designer who I've worked with 3 times previously. And we put all our team together and we built the sort of look and arc of the film together. We moved the location. The original story is actually based in the Midwest in Arizona. We moved the story to Florida because I'd seen some pictures of Florida and it blew my mind that you have a state with those vivid colors and it was a real team effort ultimately. One of the things we love to do is get everyone around a table, talking together, communicating together, so we build the look together as a group. And we had a particularly gifted bunch on this one.
It's really quite remarkable. I know, Lawrence, that you're a producer of great accomplishment. Can I ask, is this the first time that you've been to TIFF with the film?
It's interesting. So I went to college not far from here at the University of Western Ontario. Go Mustangs!
You just outed a Canadian.
And I used to drive to Toronto and sneak into screenings like this. So it's really intimidating to be in this room. But I kept all the ticket stubs, so I'll pay you back now for it. And then my first big break was I was an executive at Fox Searchlight, and I acquired a film, Thank You for Smoking Here, and in a very heated auction, which was really exciting. And then after that film, the director and I got together and we made a film called Juno, and we brought Juno here the next year. So it has always been my dream to be at TIFF in an auditorium like this with a film that I would produce. This is definitely a big bucket.
Well, congratulations. And thank you for bringing it to us. And David, you know, there's so much to talk about this film. There's so many rich themes, so many things to take away about the world that we live in now, and how we feel about it and how we move in it. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if there's one thing you want people to take away from watching this, could you say what that would be?
The moment that moves me most, just when I watch it, it's very subjective, and it's very, but it's when Emily stands up in court and takes accountability for her actions. And I love that moment that she acknowledges what she's done, and there's almost a moment of relief when she's sentenced. And just that notion that we should all be accountable and pay due diligence to the cost of what we do sometimes. And look at someone like President Trump, or someone who's able to dodge everything for some reason. So to have this figure for me in a story who stands up and acknowledges what they've done and the cost of it, I think is a beautiful thing in a culture that, you know, often swerves and wiggles out of the way. So that was the thing that moved me, that she did that.
I want to thank you so much for bringing this film to us, for allowing us to show the world premiere, and please go look at some more together.